Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Potter and Scott McLeod. Well, here we go. It's Golf Expo week, and we're here with another episode of the Flagstick Podcast with myself, Jeff Potter, and, of course, Scott McLeod. And the Flagstick Podcast, once again, this week sponsored by Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island is a premier Canadian golf destination, boasting the most number of golf courses per capita in the country, with over 400 fairways, closer than you can imagine, top-tier accommodations, and exquisite culinary experiences. It is the easiest golf vacation you will ever book. Visit golfpei.ca. Of course, we want you to be following us. Well, we know you're following us across all social media platforms, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. And please subscribe to Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And we really encourage you to hit up our YouTube channel. Like us and click the notification bell. Make sure that you never miss a single episode. We're always adding some fresh new content. Contests will be upcoming. So give us a follow on YouTube.
Yeah. How are you?
Okay. Sir? I'm great. It is, as always, it is
Ottawa-Gatineau Golf Expo.
Ottawa-Gatineau Golf Expo. I'm looking across on the other side of my desk here where we do our recording here, and I'm looking and I see a nice Srixon golf bag. I see a beautiful looking Cleveland Elite putter.
Oh, Frontline Elite.
Nice. Putter. And I see an RTX Cleveland wedge sitting there, along with the banners rolled up for the back of the booth, the little TV on the floor, where we'll be playing multiple episodes of this podcast throughout the whole weekend to entertain.
I keep saying weekend too, but it's
not Friday, Saturday. Well, yeah. I guess technically, there are those that believe that Sunday is the beginning of a week. So Sunday's not considered part of the weekend, then Friday and Saturday is the weekend, right? So
just so we don't have people showing up on Sunday or going, I didn't know it was happening on
Friday noon to 8. We'll be setting up sometime tomorrow morning between 8 and 10, probably sometime between 9 and 10. It won't take us very long. And and then Saturday it is 9 to 5. 9 to 5.
So,
yeah.
Whatever the case, we'll be there for it.
Yeah, we'll be there. And so will this stuff that's sitting on the other side of my desk, but you got to fill out the ballot. We're kicking it old school balloting. Old school, back to the 1990s, before the digital age, before iPads and laptop sign up forms and stuff. We want to encourage lots of people to enter ballots into the draw. So we're going to have the old school drop box there. And
cool.
And of course,
just to see everyone.
Yeah, exactly. The more people, the merrier, because we like to chat golf. That's what we do. That's why we do this podcast. So, so we do have a good show lined up for this week. Of course, we're going to hit up some of the latest news and stuff. I'm going off script real quick in the front nine this week. So stay tuned for that in just a second.
Sure.
And on the back nine, we're going to talk about golf improvement and what that means.
Yeah.
Now, this is obviously a little bit more up Scott's alley than it's up mine, but I will throw my 2 cents worth in there for whatever it's worth, probably worth a lot less than 2 cents. But let's get to the front nine, presented by Metcalf Golf Club. Natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Golf season is, and I believe it is, closer than you think. It's going to be here sooner than you think. So don't wait to start preparing for the upcoming golf season. Get on the waiting list for some of those leagues. If you can get a membership, but check out the game packs. Big money to be saved there. Buy your game packs and get ready to hit the first tee in the spring. Visit metcalfgolf.com to shop for those now. We have some general topics that we want to maybe kick over during the front nine.
Breaking news.
There's breaking news. Breaking news, the weather's brightening. Is that what you're talking about? Now, you know what's cool about the weather brightening, and we're starting to chat with the local facilities. They're starting to kind of get a little bit of an idea of when their opening dates are going to be. What the great thing about that is that also means that our course openings calendar is going to be back.
I already added
course
2
openings
items
calendar.
to it.
Course openings calendar is probably the single most popular
insane
thing in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
On the website,
Yeah.
because once they're open, they're open. But once majority are open, it really doesn't. But this sort of next stretch of maybe, what are we now? We're almost 1st of March. We're leap year day.
We are leap year day.
February 29th only happens
every 4 years.
Every 4 years. So happy leap year day. But so we're probably looking at May 1st for mostly all golf courses to be open, probably late April for the majority. A few will be open maybe before that, depending on what kind of weather we get between here and then. But that course calendar's got about a 1.5 month lifespan.
Yeah.
And maybe insane. 2 months tops, but it is a high traffic part of the website, and it'll be.
I dealt with a couple of messages last night for people asking about it already. So I let them know that, got a couple of additions as of today in the range category. And then we'll get that linked up on the front page and to make it as prominent as it can be, and get a post up there as well.
We will. The problem is that right now it's still pretty good indoor golf season, right?
So, I know. That's
so we still need to have the indoor golf course directory up there, because it's still a pretty high. So what we'll do is this. We'll create the little banner that we have in that position on the website, and we'll put the 2 of those banners in rotation.
Sure.
So they'll just flip-flop back and forth. So we'll be able to have both the course calendar, the course openings calendar, and the indoor golf directory linkable off the front page at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the technological side of what I'm able to bring to this team. I don't bring a whole lot else. So
I get to fill out the calendar nonstop.
Exactly. So I think my job is going to be a little bit easier on this one. But I'll take it.
You know what?
Take one for the team.
All I will say is that if you are a facility and you know when your opening date is,
don't wait.
Don't wait. Let me know. You want to get on there, because there's thousands of people will be flocking to that. And on the other side of it, that will help me a little bit. I hate having to scour websites and social media pages to find out that information. I mean, I'm not adverse to work, but trying to find out the opening dates specifically for 160 plus facilities, plus ranges, plus whatever else, it can be really difficult, and it's challenging. And you have to understand that's challenging for the consumer as well. And if it's challenging for the consumer and they have to, bombard your phone, and it's just not going to work. So it's easier. Just get us the information. We'll get up on the calendar. They can check the calendar anytime they want. Then they know when you're going to open, and then they can just go ahead and make their bookings.
And you can adjust it.
Right.
If you pick a date and you think, it's going to be earlier, it's going to be later, then all you got to do is send an email, pick up the phone, drop us a DM, whatever the case may be, and say, hey, we're changing that date to this. It takes literally seconds for us to update it. So don't stress about giving us a date if you're not 100% sure. Give us a starting date. We'll work from there.
Yeah, just say, X number of date, weather permitting. We'll get that up on the calendar. People will understand that. They can keep an eye on it. They can, they can plan and know ahead. And then, like you said, we can make an adjustment. It's not hard to do. I drew all that directly from my phone for that calendar, and then got it set up that way, so I can change it in seconds.
Okay, so here's the deal. Breaking news. As we talk about courses opening, ranges opening, indoor golf. If you're on social media and living in a dark tent where you can't see anything, Kevin Haim Kevin Haim Golf Center. They have been posting some images of them doing some cleanup work, some preparation work, getting the range ready to go for the season. And word has come down from the higher ups, aka Lisa Haim, that it might have been Kevin.
I think it was Lisa.
That Friday, March the 1st. So as we are standing in our booth at the Ottawa-Gatineau Golf Expo, Kevin and Haim and Lisa Haim and the crew, Jake at Kevin Haim Golf Center, will be, I'm certain, inundated with
Ending off
Uh, golfers who have been chomping at the bit for this announcement. But Kevinham Golf Center is opening Friday. That's tomorrow. If you're listening today, it's today. Friday, March the 1st. So, and not to be outdone, but only by a day. Down the highway, the Seaway Valley area, Archie's in Cornwall, as we saw some social media posts of them breaking up the ice in the little lake around the bubblers.
Yep.
That Archie's down in Cornwall is going to be opening on Saturday, March the 2nd.
Right. So, and that's going to be the range, not their golf course, just so people are clear. But yeah, they're getting open on Saturday as well. So I mean, it's a great time.
Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, we're, as we've talked about in the show, you know, a number of golf courses southwestern Ontario are already getting open. We've got some up in the Pickering area. We're obviously getting word of more of them. We're going to hear more of them, and then I would expect we're going to hear some golf course news in the next couple days of some courses that want to get open earlier, or at least providing a date to us. You know, we can always expect certain ones like, you know, Prescott, Calabogie, the Tin Caps of the world, you know, all sorts of different ones, Juniper Fairways, all these different ones that try to get open earlier. We'll probably hear from them, and we'll probably hear some dates pretty soon from them. I would suspect in the Quinte area, course like Trenton, Golf Club tends to get open fairly early as well. And I know Timber Ridge will try to get open probably early as well, but we'll start to confirm some dates. We'll fill that in with the calendar. Check flagstick.com repeatedly, bookmark that calendar.
Yeah.
And we'll have updates constantly there.
We hate to be selfish, but
hey, it is what it is. We're the one that does the work. So,
okay. So I see a list of things in some topics, and I want to get to these, but I want to talk quickly about something that is kind of eating at me a little bit. That's been in the news, golf related, with respect to Talor Gooch. And I'm going here because I was watching Sports Center. I do watch Sports Center, and there was an interview with Rory with respect to his comments on it, and I get where Rory went with it. He kind of took a little bit of the
he was very diplomatic.
Yes, very diplomatic. Bob Weeks, not so much. Listened to an interview with Bob Weeks on TSN. They'd asked him about the same, and he was not quite as diplomatic about the situation as Rory was. He was a little bit more too straight and to the point, that he's, you know, clearly not sure where Talor Gooch's brain is situated with respect to his comments. And I kind of wanted to, you know, generally we do try to not get too involved in some of this stuff, but you know what? I don't really care. This is a golf podcast. We may talk a lot of local stuff and regional stuff, but golf is golf. And, you know, a lot of this live stuff, I've kind of taken a little bit of the weak side of it as of late. Just kind of say, you know what, it's their choice. They want to go and play live, and, you know, take the money and own that. Then great, all the more power to them. I don't care. You know, I'm sure they're all nice guys and not goofballs like Phil and Greg are. But now I put Talor Gooch in that classification as well, though I probably had him there before because he was a bit of a wingnut when he was playing on the PGA Tour anyway. But at the same time, to make a statement or a comment that he made is absolutely asinine. Like, you have got to give your head a shake when you think that there needs to be an asterisk beside Rory's name if he were to win. So if that is the case, then why is there not an asterisk beside Brooks Koepka's name when he won the PGA Championship? Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, he was a live golfer at the time.
Pick an event. I mean, that's the thing. Nonstop. It's just very myopic on his part that he's not really thinking about the pitcher. He's somehow, or the big picture. He's just got something in his mind of, you know, this is the way it is, and he's just not understanding the reality of it more than anything. So.
Well, the reality of it is Talor Gooch, when he played on the PGA Tour, was an average player at best.
Yeah,
on the PGA Tour. And yes, he's been a very successful player on Live,
Mhm.
but to think that your success on Live warrants you getting an invitation by the committee at the
Right.
Masters.
Yeah.
That's the part that it's not even just about the Rory statement. It's about thinking that your success
Hmm.
on Live
Hmm.
should earn you a
Justifies that.
spot in the
Yeah.
Masters,
Yeah.
a tournament that is 100% of all of the golf tournaments on the planet,
Hmm.
is the one that is most controlled
Yeah.
by the operators and organizers of the event. They have their
Right.
own criteria, and the
Hmm.
invitations that they sent out, they don't even have to tell you, other than the criteria they have for actually getting an invitation, like the automatic invitation.
Right.
Other than that, they don't have to tell you
Well,
who's getting invited.
especially for the special invitations. I mean, that's the thing. That's up to them. If
Yeah.
they want to invite their mom, they can.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? But I love the point that, that Joaquin Neiman,
Yeah, he deserves
chased
it.
it. He chased it. And the thing was,
Yeah.
he didn't depend on his success at Live.
Yes.
He chased other tours and other events around
Yeah.
the world to raise his profile enough that it made the Masters committee compelled to
Hmm.
invite him and offer a special invitation. You just don't
100%.
sit back and wait for it. You work
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
You work for it.
He's and he's a live golfer.
Yeah, for sure.
Fine. You're a live
Yeah,
golfer. That's great. But
yeah.
the other opportunities were out there.
Of course. Taylor could have done
The
that.
other doors were open, and
Yeah,
he took them, and he won in Australia, and he played well in Dubai, and he played like, as
yeah.
Rory's point, he went after it,
Right.
and he earned it.
Yeah.
And for that, I applaud, I commend. I don't care about the live stuff. So that's the
Nope.
thing. I don't want people to get the idea that I don't like live golf. I don't,
Look, they're
but I
free to
don't
do whatever
care
they
about
want.
live golf. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
it the problem is, and Bob made such a good point. And maybe Bob listens to us on the podcast, maybe he doesn't, but Bob, he made such a good point. The interviewer on TSN, and I forget who it was. I think it was maybe Meldrum, that asked Bob, what does the do the Masters need to do, or these other majors need to do, to accommodate for the success of live and whatever. And he's like, you got this wrong. You got it all wrong. Nobody has to do anything to accommodate for live. Live is the ones that need to make the adjustment to
That's right.
accommodate for what is required as it
Yeah,
is right now.
yeah,
Whether you agree or disagree with the official golf world rankings, whether you
yeah.
agree or disagree, and you can social media this to death, saying they're archaic, they're outdated, they don't mean anything, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter what you think about the official world rankings. That's the existence.
Yeah.
That's the criteria that's set, and they're not changing that because of one tour. That tour needs
Has
to
to adapt.
change to accommodate for the world rankings the way they
Sure.
are. If
Yeah,
they want to do that,
yeah.
so I guess if their fields need to be more open and not closed, they need to go from 54 holes to 72. If they want to do those things to accommodate for what is required to achieve it, nobody's saying that live golfers can't get world
No,
rankings.
not at
They
all.
just say that the tour has to abide by the rules and regulations for
That everyone
receiving
else
them
has to.
that every other tour on the planet has to follow. So you're the ones that need to adjust. And this
Yeah.
is the part that I'm just drives me nuts is Brooks Koepka this and Bryson DeChambeau this, and the best players on the planet are playing on live golf. Awesome. Great. They're the best players on the planet. By whose standard? Because
Yeah.
they're not living up to the standard that every other tour is living up to. You
Well,
know,
here's the thing. This means Live is hurting their own players.
Mhm.
They're hurting their own players by not adhering to. Now,
But that's why these guys went there in the first place. They
well,
went there for the big payday. They went there
right.
for the shortened events. They
And
went there so they could wear
yeah,
shorts and play loud music and Happy Gilmore it all the time. That's what they went there
well,
for the
much like it.
relaxed professional big payday, all about
Yeah.
the money, and that's fine.
Yep.
You're professionals. You play golf for money. That's the bottom line. End of story. But you went eyes wide open to something you knew was going to have these repercussions at the end of the day. So now don't come back and start dissing the PGA Tour I don't care what the PGA's financial situation is. I don't care if they had the money all along to pay the players. That's irrelevant. You went to the PGA Tour because that was your option as a professional golfer. That's the path you wanted to take, and you took it. Then someone else came along and said, we're going to give you millions of dollars to come and play here, and we're going to bury the PGA Tour. And that's been your sole mandate. Take the money, go have fun golfing, no pressure, like zero. Think about this. You're on Live Golf, zero pressure. Every tournament you tip it up in, you've already got millions of dollars in the bank. Zero pressure.
Hey, I get it.
So on the PGA Tour, if you're the top of the top of the top with the big endorsement deals and you've won majors and stuff, you're tipping it up every week, zero pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not at the top of the top, it's a ton of pressure. You got to make cuts. You got to make cuts. You got to get points. You got to get to the end to make the money, to have the zero pressure. You got to earn zero pressure.
There's a big reason Anthony Kim is in Jeddah this week and making his debut. Zero pressure. He didn't have a pathway really back on the PGA Tour, one that guaranteed financially.
Mm-hmm.
More than likely, Liv has paid off his insurance policy. He's probably out of cash after being, out of pro golf for 11, 12 years. He gets his money. They get their buzz for maybe a week. And it's a stress-free way. He can shoot 80 and he can finish dead last, and he's still going to get $100,000 for the week on top of whatever other money they paid him. And if he really wanted to compete, which he says, he would be competing probably in some other variation where there's actually some, we'll call it punishment for not playing well. So anyways.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll leave it at that. But again, Bob, great statement, great interview. Rory, I give you 50-50. You didn't agree, you didn't disagree. That's all good. Us, 100% effort for the comments. Much appreciated. Kudos to us. All right. Moving on past it. Other announcements of note to bring up. The Flagstick.com PGA of Ottawa Tour has announced its 2024 schedule, and I guess probably the biggest change this year is at the end of the season. But just to go over the list real quick, the Spring Open is going to be at Equinel May 27th, which is following the Flagstick Open, which is the May 18th, 19th long weekend.
Yep.
The Pro is going to be at the Meadows in June.
But new format.
It's a 999 format.
Yeah, it was 666 before. So we played 18 holes, 3 in the format. 999 gives a chance to play each of the nines. Yep. It also gives a little bit more idea. Time.
No, there's still 1 9 missing, right?
Yeah, but it still gives some time as well from a separation standpoint to kind of separate the field.
666 is hard.
It's difficult. You play 6 Scramble, 6 Chapman, 6 Better Ball. It's nice. The 999, I think, just like anything else, the longer that you play, the longer the better chance to showcase overall skills. Not a sprint becomes a marathon. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
It should be fun. Yeah. The Summer Open is going to be at Canada this year in late June. The Zone Championships, both round 1 and round 2 stroke play competition is going to be at Cornwall.
Yeah. Good to see it back there.
Yes. Very good to see it back there. That's mid-July. And the Assistant Seniors and Ladies Championship is going to be at Mississippi.
As it is traditionally. Yep.
Yeah. The Pro Lady foursome event is going to be at Loch March. Fittingly.
New event as well coming up. Renfrew.
The Pro Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's also a foursome event. The Fall Championship is going to be at Stonebridge. And the big one at the end of the year that they're all sort of playing to get into, the Ping Challenge Cup is moving to Smuggler's Glen in a 2-day format. And the final playability test will also be there on the second day at Smuggler's Glen. But the Ryder Cup style format that we've always been playing, is going to a 2-day event. So I'm kind of, I mean,
Yeah, you missed it the other time when it was a 2-day event at
yes, I
Highlands.
did at Highlands. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great to have it over the 2 days, have overnight chance for people to sort of mingle and
Yeah.
get ready. Allows us as the captains to kind of do the pairings overnight and a little bit
Yes. A
different,
little
so we
anticipation, a
can
little excitement.
yeah, we can mix things up
Yep.
a little bit differently, and it becomes a little bit of a road trip. And Smugglers, obviously, as we know, is a great golf course, so it's going to be fun down there.
Absolutely. Okay, so the Loyalist Junior Showcase is going to be May 11th and 12th at Loyalist Golf and Country Club this year down in the other side of Kingston and Bath. Great. It's a great event
Yeah, fun
for
stuff.
the juniors. It's a great start to the season. It's $100,
Yeah,
and it includes a practice round and 2
on
rounds of
top of
golf.
2 rounds. Yeah, which
So you get
is
2 rounds of golf and
steep.
practice round, range balls, lunches, prizes for the top 3 in each flight, little registration gift that they always get. Just an awesome event for juniors,
Really is.
and the younger ones, they get sort of the chaperones, if you will, that follow them around. The older kids, they're on their own, but just I, you know, it's a great tournament for
Yeah.
juniors. So if you have never played in it as a junior, parents, you're listening, sign up for it. You'll love it. The kids will love it. And it's a great competition, and it's a great way to get into competitive
Yeah, it's a great
golf
way
for
to
juniors.
introduce them to competition, especially if they've never played in a tournament before. And, being that it's right at the start of the year, they get a feel for that. And chances are then they'll probably be more interested in signing up for maybe the Play Junior Golf Tour
Which is
or,
also, yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, anything else. They just get that taste. They sort of get into a competition for the first time. They get past those nerves. They see how much fun it is, and
Yeah.
it's a nice hook. And hey, kudos to those guys for hosting that and having it at an affordable price for
I'm
sure.
not sure what year they're in now, but it's been going on for a long time.
It has. I was trying to think about that actually, and I'm thinking it's probably 15 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in
no,
that range.
it's absolutely awesome. Okay, the LPGA returned to play this past week at the Honda LPGA Thailand, and with
Brooke finished tied for
Brooke
ninth.
finished
Yep.
top 10,
Yep.
ninth place, which is a great top 10 finish on the LPGA Tour is great. You can't win every week.
No.
I know everybody wants her to,
Oh, I know. But
and
that's her seven.
so many people see the way she's playing, the way she's finishing is it's not a success. And I'm
Oh
like,
my lord.
come on, really? It's
At
a top
75
10.
at
Like,
75 top tens, a third of the events that she's played in her career, she's finished in top 10. So I
these
mean,
dominant streaks of golfers, that's gone. That
oh,
the
it's so
idea
hard to
that you're
do.
going to win week in and week out, contend week in and week out, like for the win. I mean, no, it's not going to
It's too
happen.
hard.
It's way
Yeah.
they're way too good now from top to bottom. The
Yeah.
that starts the tournament ranked 100th in the world
Could
can
win.
win. Like
Oh,
it's so,
400th in the world.
so
Yeah.
if you can finish top 10 most of the time, it's
Yeah.
pretty good.
I think a good example was this week. The Jared Dutois opened the New Zealand Open at 3 under and was tied for 38th. And someone said, "Wow, hard to believe you can shoot 68 and be tied for 38th." And I'm like, "Well, welcome to pro golf in
Yeah.
2024."
Yeah, exactly. Other big announcement, Lisa Meldrum was announced as a 2024 inductee for the Canadian Golf Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Um,
great for her.
yeah,
Well
very
deserved.
exciting, very accomplished.
Oh,
I
so
mean,
much so.
the list of accomplishments as a professional, or I know we've got them listed here, but
Well, yeah,
they're
as an
pretty
amateur,
deep.
I mean, she won 12 major titles within like a very short period of time with the Canadian Junior Juvenile, 3 Canadian amateurs. I mean, she just won a ton. Went on, played great in college at University of Oklahoma, had 3 NCAA wins there. Went on to play the Epson Tour, the LPGA Tour as well, and now she's giving back to the game as a Class A pro. She's the director of instruction at Royal Montreal, and congratulations to Lisa. She went into the Quebec Golf Hall of Fame last year, and then a well-deserved induction this year into the Canadian Golf Hall of Fame. One of those people that maybe flew under the radar a little bit because
Yeah,
she
I think
really
so.
didn't have a lot of professional success, as far as big wins and so forth. But she did have some wins, and yeah, congratulations to her. Definitely a fabulous career that's still continuing.
Beautiful. All right. We're gonna get out of here.
Yeah,
At least for the first part, the front nine. But we're gonna get back. Before we go, I just want to remind everybody that yes, the Flagstick Open is full. At the 120 players full. Waiting list is starting to fill up. So if you want to get on the waiting list and kind of assure yourself that you're probably going to get in, traditionally it's
getting
been
pretty far.
10.
We're getting that list is getting full now on the
Yeah,
waiting
so
list.
the
Yeah.
longer the list gets, the harder it's going to be. So get on the waiting list now, and then just watch following the Golf Expo, probably Monday morning. I'll be opening the registration for the Flagstick Shootout at Smuggler's Glen, so you can get yourself registered for that one quickly. And I do encourage you to get registered for that one because that one's a little different. We take the registrations, then we select the field.
Yeah.
So it's
And
not
only
a first come,
72
first serve
spots.
thing, but it helps if you get in quicker because then you get selected quicker.
Yeah.
So get over to flagstick.com and sign up for the open and get ready to sign up for the shootout. Okay. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk golf improvement and what it means. How much conversation I have in there, we'll see. We'll see.
It'll probably more than you think.
But definitely Scott will be talking golf improvement. So stay with us. You're listening to and watching the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Bonner and Scott McLeod. We will be right back.
When you golf on Prince Edward Island, there are over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine. Not to mention countless miles of pristine beaches and a rich world-class culinary experience. So get here fast, then take it slow and play around on Island Time. Golf Prince Edward Island.
Well, there you go now. Welcome back, everybody, to the Flagstick podcast. I am Jeff Botter. This guy is Scott McLeod, and we certainly want to keep chatting with you. That's what we like to do. We got some interesting stuff to talk about. Good topic in the back nine here, which is, of course, let's get to it. It's presented this week again by Celtic Golf Center, located 20 minutes from Ottawa in Kemptville. Celtic Golf Center is indoor golf at another level, featuring 5 state-of-the-art TrackMan simulators, 2 new Unicore simulators with GS Pro. Celtic Golf Center offers now 10,000 course options. Of course, you can't play them all at once, including many major courses, some with island greens and some that are coming up very shortly in April. Play rounds with your friends, practice with full swing analysis, play golf games. Visit CelticGolfCenter.com to learn more or to book tee times. Just on a side note with that, had a good meeting with Andy McWilliams from Celtic Golf Center and golfsimulators.ca. Nice little breakfast we had at Johnny Canucks and Leitrim area. Love Johnny Canucks. Love Johnny Canucks. French toast and sausage. It's always a good starter for the day. Get your sugar rush going so you can crash by noon. But we're talking about, he's really going to be focusing a little bit with the facility this year on the TrackMan U feature, where the individuals are able to take the TrackMan course to learn how to analyze the data and stuff on their own. As opposed to having to have a golfer. Nothing against golf pros. That's not the point. It's not the point. It's a TrackMan feature that's available, and some people really, could benefit from taking advantage of it. And some people probably don't really know how to interpret the data well enough to take advantage of it. But that's what the TrackMan U is for.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you go through TrackMan U, and I'm happy to say that I'm one of the few level 2 certified TrackMan operators in Eastern Ontario. So I've been all through the TrackMan U. But, it gives people a good idea of certain definitions, certain terms they hear all the time, makes them a little bit more familiar. And then when they look at the data, they have a better idea of how it works. Obviously, yeah, you still need a coach to kind of guide you through that in a lot of cases, but knowledge is power. And if you've got a little bit more knowledge, it can just help you a little bit, knowing a little bit more about your game, and lead you to maybe some golf improvement. Nice segue, right?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. Just to let you know, I'm a level 5 flagstick.com administrative certified technician. And I'm the only one in North America, maybe even in the world. Okay. So
awesome.
As I break your bridge, speaking of golf improvement, exactly what does that mean? Now, where this topic came about is we just, you kind of told me how you decided you wanted to go down this road. Years ago, we published an article. You wrote, I published an article about the complete golfer. taking a holistic approach of how a golfer can improve their golfing experience. Specifically, most people think about technique. Supination, pronation, hinging the wrists, is position at the top. You got to rotate and fire the hips and pick the ground and push off with the right side and all that stuff. And it can be that, or it can be much more than that, depending on what that golfer wants, needs, how they want to direct their time, and if they have that time available. So why don't you kind of set the table a little more for this and kind of walk us into it, and I'll chip in where I can.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing first off is, it's that time of year where people are really thinking about their golf games. Maybe it's around the corner, so it becomes a little bit more pressing, even though maybe they could have been working on some of this stuff a little bit earlier in the winter, which they have the option to do that now. But it's a case of if they really want to improve, they need to change something. And one of the funniest things I ever had someone say is when, we had a new golf pro came to a course I was at, and they said, "Oh, I might take some lessons this year." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great." And they're like, "Well, yeah, but I don't want them to change anything." Well, that doesn't make sense, people. But what they have to understand, though, is that, it's okay if you don't want to change, but don't expect any results from it. There's not going to be anything happen if you don't make any type of changes, but also understand that change is not just about changing your golf swing. There's a lot other ways that you can go about, improving the way that you play. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's improving your score. But maybe it's about other aspects of your game. So what I want to sort of talk about a little bit today is just to go over some of the different aspects, that really go into it, and what people could maybe they could prioritize. Maybe they could look at it and say, you know what, I don't want to change my golf swing this year, but maybe there's some other things that I could work on. What else could I work on? Because a lot of times people don't even think there's anything else to work on.
And the list is endless, really.
Oh, the list is certainly, it's endless. And I think what happens a lot of the time, and any golf pro will know this, if they're a teaching pro, somebody will come in and the first thing they always want to work on is the full swing. They somehow think that, if they make their full swing perfect, that their game will be, on 59 watch all the time. But the reality, of course, is that it's not the case.
It isn't.
No, it's a complex game with a lot of different elements and things that go into it. And it's a game that's a little bit different than most other ones. I mean, it happens over a long period of time. The average round, let's say it's 4.5 hours. That's a lot of things that can happen. The actual swing portion of itself is seconds in that. So, there's a lot of other things that go into it. So I just want people to kind of open their eyes a little bit, and maybe they'll think about their golf education a little bit differently and start to think of, okay, maybe it's just not my swing. Maybe there's some other things that I could go after. So my first question to you is, what is maybe something that you've worked on over the years where you haven't worked on your swing? And you can preface this with how you go about working on your game. But think of the aspect that you would care about the most, that might be the easiest for you, as opposed to just making swing changes. Is there anything?
Is this where they say in the radio business they call this dead air?
Okay. All right.
No. Okay, I am not a tinkerer when it comes to my swing. I don't play with it. I don't work at it. I probably don't care. That said, I would say if there's any one thing that I try to focus on when I play is God, I don't even know if it's that.
Even that focus level could be a minimal focus level. It doesn't mean it's like you're spending hours on it.
I'm not, if I took lessons, and here's the funny thing, I have opportunities. I have the opportunity to do this whenever I like. I mean, if I really wanted to work on my swing, I've got a pretty good teacher at my doorstep if I wanted it, but I obviously, and I choose not to. I kind of feel that my swing, my game at my age, and I've kind of had this philosophy for probably about 10 years, is at a point where I don't want to change anything in my swing of any drastic nature, because I kind of feel like I know what my body does.
Okay.
So when I'm trying to make sure that from a technical standpoint, I'm always trying to approach, making sure that the club isn't coming over the top, which is probably the biggest single mistake that I've always made is I'll come over the top and I get into this, or I'll hit the high rights. And I know having listened enough to
Yeah.
you, I know why that happens. So I just try not to do it. I
Right.
know why I'm doing that. If it happens, I know why it's happening.
Mm.
So I try to focus on not doing that particular sequence but honestly, when it comes to, technical, the only thing I
Yeah.
really work on or practice is my short game. I
Yeah.
don't really
So
practice anything else.
yeah, and really, I think, if I'm going to observe it from the outside, you do what a number of people do when they're comfortable with their
Hmm.
game. They're comfortable with their technique. They don't want to change their technique. People have to understand that within technique, there's skill, right?
Hmm.
So it's refining the skill, refining your technique. It's those kind of micro skills more than anything. So let's say ball striking, for an example. The gross motor motion of how to make your technique and make your golf swing and get the ball off the center of the face is one thing, but to get it precisely where you need to off the face is very small, refined movements that are going to happen from a lot of practice. There
Hmm.
might be some drills in there that do that sort of thing, but you're trying to work in those feels so that you're developing the skill, relying on the technique that you've already had. So
Yes.
the thing that should be taken from that is that people should understand that, whatever you come with to a lesson, or a clinic, or whatever the case may be, that's ingrained in you. That's what you do all the time. It's really hard to change that,
Hmm.
for a lot of people. I mean, you can, but it's going to take a lot of work. And if a person doesn't have the time, so if you came and you said, hey, here's how much time I'm going to do, I don't really care to kind of grind away at the range, I don't mind hitting a few balls or whatever like that, that's where the coach should actually be looking at just your skill development and saying, all right, if that's what you're going to do, and here's how you're going to play, you accept what you're hitting for shot shape and things like that. You don't want to add a lot to that. Okay, how can we refine your skills so that it can provide a result that's more acceptable? Again, it's not about consistency. Consistency has a cone of movement.
Hmm.
It's there's a corridor that's there. It's not, we're playing with a shotgun, not a rifle. So we have to find that sort of dispersion. So for you, it could be just skill development. So should people I think have to first get away from thinking about technique first. Technique is definitely important.
Hmm.
Certainly, that's your basic movement's going to be things like how to create speed, control your low point, the face angle, the path. You can work on a lot of those for a long time, but you've got to understand, you've got to do a lot of work to change what your brain thinks is the next move it needs to make.
Yeah.
So in a lot of cases, yeah, if you're not going to put in that effort, which is those type of big movements probably should be doing this time of year or
Hmm.
over the winter time, not in the middle of tournament season or the time when you're trying to enjoy golf.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to frustrate yourself,
No.
help yourself. if you want to
Yeah.
start doing that when you're trying to play a lot of golf, I mean, the number of people that all of a sudden call up and say, hey, I've got a golf tournament in 2 days, I'd like to change my backswing. The first thing any golf pro should do is basically say, no, that's not
Yeah.
happening,
Not
because
now.
you're selling them a fantasy, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not saying you can't affect change in a very short period of time. You certainly can, but for most people, they're gonna rent that for a while before they own it, and they're going to need to trust that in a lot of different situations. So that's when they need to have less care about the results and
Hmm.
just worry about that movement. So for people to think about that, you know what? Yes, it is the go-to, identifying your flaws, tackling them, and so forth. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing that. I'm just saying, based on how much time that you have and how much dedication that you have, you're going to have to limit the scope of that, right? It's
Yeah.
a little different than starting with a brand new golfer where you're building them from the ground up, or somebody that's putting in a long-term coaching program where they're working year round and you're just developing. I mean, frankly, I've got players worked with for a decade. You can get a lot of work done, but if you're somebody that's short term and just looking for some help, maybe you want to start looking some other areas. So skill would be a start of that,
Yeah.
before we start to work our way down the list.
See, now, I know for me, I mean, if people that have played with me regularly know that I will always say when I'm swinging well, when I'm hitting the ball, when I feel like I'm hitting the ball well, you can feel that, but I can see the way my ball starts and flies.
Mhm.
I know what my shot shape is if I'm swinging well. I know what the ball's gonna go up. I'm gonna have a little bit of a cut to it. And if I'm doing that, I don't hit the ball right to left. Not
Mhm.
not unless it's by accident or
Sure.
I'm really, really trying to hit a hook.
Right.
I don't draw the ball. So if I draw the ball off the tee and I hit it down the middle, I hit it
Mhm.
bad because that's
Mhm.
not how I hit
Yeah,
it
it's not your
it's not
pattern.
my regular thing. So I know when I'm playing, okay, yeah, my ball is doing this. I know I'm swinging well, so I just stick with it.
Yeah.
I don't make adjustments or changes. And generally when I'm playing, I don't usually make a whole lot of adjustments or changes while I'm playing anyway. But
Nor
if I see my
most people
ball
shouldn't.
going right to left all the time, I'm like, oh, wait a second, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And and then it becomes a case of looking at fundamentals.
Mhm.
For me, if I'm doing that, probably there's something out of whack with my alignment.
Mm.
I've probably changed something. I probably moved a
Oh,
foot,
yeah,
done something.
obviously.
So
Yeah.
so you kind of go back to, okay, you kind of make sure you set your grip and you make sure that you got your alignment right, and then you go again. And maybe there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on, but I'm
Mhm.
not going to worry about that when I'm playing.
Yeah, so people have to understand every single person has a puzzle, right? And their golf swing,
Hmm.
especially when you look at the large movements of their body and how their arms move, there is just this massive puzzle with lots of different pieces to it
Hmm.
that interact to create what your outcome is. And that's your tendency of what you do, and that's what you ingrain. As I said, you're programming your central nervous system, right? It knows what its next move is to do. So it takes a lot of work to change that. So if you
Yes.
have that pattern, and you can produce it on a consistent basis, then yeah, there's other areas where you may want to look. And for you, like you said, if you grind away at your short game and your putting, that can make up for a lot of the other maybe deficiencies that you
Well,
see.
for me, it's easier to work on that.
Yeah, it
Given
is for
where
a
I
lot of
live
people.
and the
Right.
availability of being able to just go and work on my putting on the putting green or go and do some chipping and putting as opposed to going to a driving range. To go to a
Yeah.
driving range for me is a little bit more of an effort.
Right.
To go somewhere to hit balls. I have a net here, but there's
Sure. It's not the same.
the ball flight's important to me, not just the swing feel. So,
Yeah.
but chipping and putting
Hmm.
and pitching and
Hmm.
that sort of short game, that's easy for me to work on if I want to work on it. So it generally becomes that it's the better part of my game. And I'm sure that other people have the same sort of, some things are easier to work on a regular basis than others, time-wise, commitment-wise. So
Hmm.
they become that part of their game that's always sharper, always better than other parts of their game, and it makes up for the other deficiencies when you're playing. If I'm missing a lot of greens or hitting a lot of bad tee shots or, chunking shots, things like that, hitting good wedge shots and getting up and down around greens and from bunkers and things like that, and putting, making 10-foot and 15 and 20-foot putts, become the savior in your score,
Hmm.
even though you're
Yeah,
not really
and
hitting it any better.
no, and we have to manage our expectations, especially with our ball striking. That even the best players in the world are missing greens, so you're going to have to get up and
What?
down at some point. The other side of it too is when you look at something like a putting. When we look at that as far as from a technique or skill, you can be a 95-year-old. You don't need strength to hit the ball fast. I mean, we're talking putts going a few miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably the easiest stuff to change. Yet it also impacts the scoring by the most. But
Yes.
people don't tend to focus on it because the long shots are more dramatic as far as the bad results. All of a sudden, that shot that hits out of bounds, they're like, I'm a terrible driver of the golf ball. Meanwhile, if they look on the tour, there's guys and girls that are hitting balls out of bounds. It happens or whatever. So, but they don't change their whole golf game because of that one shot. It can be a
No.
real small thing that made the difference for them. But if you can go and spend some time working on your putting technique and grinding away on that, yeah, you know what? You're not going to hit a putt out of bounds, but you're going to three putt.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
you got to find ways to gain the strokes. You can gain more strokes on that putting green and that short game than you probably can with that long game overall.
Which kind of sets up, this is perfect timing. It kind of sets up another aspect of being able to improve your game without it being related to your swing or your ball striking, and that's strategy.
Yeah, big time.
If you happen to be a very like a really good putter or have a
Mhm.
really strong short game, you can break holes up into different segments to ensure that you're not putting a lot of pressure on, okay, you know what? I'm really good at chipping and putting. So I'm going to hit a fairway wood off the tee because I can hit it straighter. And I know that I'm going to have to hit a hybrid or a long iron or a mid iron into the green, and I'm probably going to miss the green or come up, have a long putt. But I'm a really good putter, or I can chip really well. So that plays into my wheelhouse strategically, as opposed to, oh, this is a 400-yard par four. I need to have, I need to
I
hit
have
it
to
to the
get on in
150. So
regulation.
I got to hit it 250.
Yeah. Right.
So you pull out the driver and you hit it into the water, into the trees, and now you've just added a stroke. So strategy plays a part, specifically in how it best suits your game. And even if you're not the greatest putter or greatest short game chipper or whatever, having a chip or a long putt versus having to take a penalty stroke or a drop is far more likely. Minimize the doubles. And that's always what I've said with my game is I don't make a lot of doubles, which means if I make a bogey, I've only got one stroke to make up, not two. You make a double early in a round.
It's hard to get,
it's hard and you think you want to shoot even par. Now you got to make two birdies to make up for the double. And now it becomes even more difficult. And you throw a bogey here and there, and now you've got to make 4 or 5 birdies, and most people don't do that anyway. So you're looking at,
good golf. If people look back at it, it's pretty boring. It's actually fairly vanilla. It's about giving yourself the opportunities to maybe have those spectacular things as far as those, birdies or other opportunities in that way. Generally, if somebody goes and they take a teaching lesson, for an example, and they work their way around the golf course, they'd be surprised what clubs end up in their hands. So one of the first things that happens with you look at like the national team, for an example, national team athletes, when they go back and look at their round recaps, they look at the strokes where they didn't make swings. Right. If you're making strokes where you're not actually making swings, which would mean penalty strokes, it's those are throwaways. Those are ones you can get back. And if you see the level of risk, and I'm not talking about the spectacular fun shot out of the woods here. I'm talking about the level of risk, which you love to do, which is fun. That's your game. But I mean, if people want to reduce the risk, there's a lot of other ways to take things on to give themselves less anxiety, to pull off shots that they're capable of hitting. And that's part of the strategy. And again, when I mentioned about, playing with a shotgun, not a rifle, everybody's got dispersion. We don't see golfers, especially if you put them on TrackMan and we start to see their dispersion patterns, right? The tour players, even tour players, they'll know what their dispersions are. And when we're talking tour players with 30 yards each way on a driver, imagine what the average amateur has. And now we don't want to look at the, at the ends of the spectrum. We want to look at the meat of it, maybe 80% of the shots. And we want to plan for sort of that. And if all of a sudden, you've got a pond in the way, we got to pick out where our targets are going to be because we know where we're going to spray, or, from a lengthwise, north, south, what our dispersion is going to be. We have to figure that out and work our way around the golf course. Same thing goes for targets when we look at greens. If we have that, dispersion that's happening and we know what it's going to be, why don't you play within that? And why don't you point your shotgun in the right direction and not all of a sudden just be, shooting at a pin when you got a, 4-iron in your hand? Your odds of actually hitting that, probably pretty difficult to get it on target. In most cases, it's an accident when it actually goes on, even for a tour pro, right? If it lands right on the target, it's pretty difficult to do. So we got to find out where our strategy is as far as what our targets are. But again, that goes to working with your coach or identifying on your own what your patterns are, how wide your shot pattern is, how much you're missing north south, which would be short long, which should be something that you're working on with your fitter and things like that when you're doing clubs. And that strategy, you don't have to change your golf swing.
No.
Right.
No.
You get to choose that, but it's less about being careless and making a choice of putting yourself in an opportunity to give yourself opportunities.
Yeah, I particularly like the 6 shots that come after me trying to hit 180-yard trap 6-iron through a 4-foot gap with a hard hook.
That's why
to a back pin over 3 bunkers and water to the right. So,
yeah,
but that's my game, not yours.
That's why we play match play.
You got it, baby. Match play is the ultimate equalizer. Okay, so we're going to bang through these last few topics here because I know we're going to get up against it here, but nutrition is important as well. Hydration, especially important when you're playing golf. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've been on a golf course where guys are pounding beers while they're playing golf and wondering why they're playing so bad. And it's 40 degrees out, and I haven't seen them drink a sip of water the whole day. So,
or the junior kids that don't eat at all, and meanwhile they're out there for 5 hours. Right now, it's getting better. You see the Tupperware containers, you see the snacks and stuff out there. But kids go out there and then they wonder why the time they're and I shouldn't say it's just kids, but adults too, or whatever. Especially in tournament conditions when they're under a little bit more pressure, more stress, the body's using up more energy, and they get down to that back nine and they can't think clearly, and your body needs fuel. That's really what it comes down to, and it needs hydration as well.
It does indeed. So the nutrition is important. Mental skills and management, emotion management on the golf course. I don't know. It is so funny sometimes to watch some people play, and and it's casual, not even competition. It's just casual golf, and you see them make a bad shot, and then away goes the club, and cursing this and that, and what am I doing wrong? Why am I doing this? I should be able to hit the ball further than this. What am I doing? And they start working on their movement and their motion. They don't even know what they're doing when they do it.
No,
they're taking they're pretending
the drama.
They're doing this.
It's the drama. It's dramatic. It makes it,
what are you doing there? Like I know for me, I went through a period of time when I was golfing where my emotions got the better of me, and I was a good player and I wanted to be good. And once I was really good at it, I couldn't understand why I couldn't be that good all the time. Yeah. And then, a switch went off for me many, many years ago. I'm still a decent golfer. So don't think that this is some guy that used to shoot in the 70s that now shoots in the 90s and doesn't care. No, I still shoot in the 70s pretty regularly. I still shoot under par from time to time, depending on where I'm playing, but I don't care. And mentally, I have no care in the world when I'm playing, because at the end, I don't play competitive anymore. So that's part of it.
I'd say you care, but you also don't put your effort into negative energy. That's really what it comes down to.
That shot that I hit bad is gone now. There isn't a darn thing that I can do in the world. It's kind of like in hockey, a coach arguing with a ref over a bad call. In the history of hockey, no ref has ever overturned his decision because the coach called him a dumbass or was yelling at him from the bench. All that happened was the coach got a tactical 2-minute penalty or thrown out of the game. So there's more of an escalation of what can go wrong than a fixing of what just went wrong. And the same thing goes for golf. You hit a bad shot, you hit it into the water, you miss a green, you hit it in the bunker, you chunk it. That shot's gone. Getting upset and aggravating that situation will only make the next shot worse.
Yeah, well, what that is, or really comes down to, is just the theater, the response, the theater of it, right? Like, it's you see people coaching. I obviously are involved. You're involved with hockey. I'm involved with volleyball as well, and I see coaches getting upset, but I also see them sort of glancing towards the audience, and they see the parents, and they're like, "Well, I'm supposed to be upset because the parents expect me. I need to be upset or whatever like this." But they also don't understand the implications of it. So again, even as our own selves, when we're playing, we sort of demonstrate this, anger just because it's the theater and we think we're supposed to be mad. Yeah. But once we understand that it's just wasted energy, that we just need to take that energy and focus it on the next shot, that's when you're in the better position to actually, be
and potentially add attention, which if anybody knows anything, you don't have to be a golf pro to understand. The biggest thing that can kill your swing is tension. Too much tension. Yeah. That can affect club head speed. That can affect the path. That can affect everything, because tension will pull the club offline in a second. And all the technique in the world is not going to help if there's too much tension in your forearms. I use, the old expression, when you grab the club, let the club loose and then re-grip the club after that, hold it like you're holding a baby bird, all that kind of stuff. Well, they're weird expressions, but the idea behind that obviously is you're supposed to relax. You're supposed to really, reduce the tension. So you're not holding on to it. It's like, and the same thing, a goal scorer in hockey, when they're gripping the stick too tight, they can't score because you can't shoot where you want to shoot.
It changes your body pattern. It changes
I'm so angry.
It changes your movement. So you're basically putting yourself in a situation where you're not directing the energy you should to where you should. It's difficult to keep yourself focused during a round. It takes practice to be able to do it, to deal with adversity, to deal with distractions, to manage our expectations. And again, that's something that people can work on without working on their technique, and it can add to their golf game, not only probably maybe extend their life,
Yeah.
keeping their blood pressure down, but it could probably help them from a score standpoint as well. So if they took the attitude where they weren't worried about the results as much and just went ahead and played, they would definitely probably improve.
Okay, so two other things. Physical ability, we won't really get into this one too much, but
Yeah,
strength does become a factor, hitting out a
sure,
rough, hitting
certainly.
of certain situations, being stronger, recognizing whether you're physically strong enough to play certain shots or not. You don't take those risks. If your ball is in deep rough and you're not particularly strong, taking your 3-iron and trying to hit it out of there is probably not the smartest idea. Taking your wedge and hitting it out was probably the smarter idea. So that comes back to course management as well and understanding your physical abilities.
Right. What tools do you have available?
Exactly. The final thing, obviously, is that we'll touch on here for a couple minutes is practice routines.
Yeah.
Because this is something, again, that you can control
Mhm.
as a golfer at whatever level you want to control it, whether you're a highly competitive golfer and you've got sort of it's this golf season and you've got a daily regiment and this is your routine, or if you're just go to the range twice a week person and you're only there for an hour, this is the practice routine. I'm like, setting some kind of a practice routine and getting the most out of it.
Yeah, practice is not exercise. People should realize that. There's a difference. If you want to go to the range and just beat balls for a couple times during the week, that's fine, but that's not practice.
No.
That's basically, you're hoping for a random shot, you think it's great, and then I'm going to go to the golf course and I'm hoping for more of those random shots. Practice is really about doing something specific. It's really having something that you're actually trying to work on. One of the things that we see a lot, especially with junior golfers, is they'll show up at the range, they'll live on the range, they'll be there for a long time. But I can tell you, I drive into golf courses and I see kids and they're like, oh yeah, I was on the range for 4 hours. And I'm like, yeah, but I saw you on your phone chatting with your friends. You hit 8 balls. And then they also wonder, where'd all my time go? The better player, the one that's really knowing what they're doing, basically is going to have an effective practice. They're going to really determine, what is the issue that I have during my game? What is the specific thing that I need to work on? How am I going to go about doing that? And effectively going and taking care of that practice, right? They could get done a lot faster. They would have the rest of their day to do whatever else, go play, go see their friends, have some social time, or whatever the case may be. But when you go to the driving range, you want to have a specific plan, or go to the practice green, or whatever the case may be. You want to pick out particularly, what am I trying to improve on? What is the weakness? What is the skill? What is the technique? I've got to be really pointed in what I'm doing. And that way you can actually gauge it as well. I mean, if you go to the range and just say, I'll just hit a whole bunch, and then you just, say, oh, was that better than the last time?
Exactly.
What's your actual goal in trying to do a particular thing? If it's putting, what are my metrics that I'm trying to get to prove to myself that I'm actually doing something quite effectively? So practice routines are really, really important. Again, something you can work on with your coach, but the thing is, if you feel more confident after your practice session because you've been more pointed with it and you've accomplished what you need to do, that's going to filter into your golf out on the course as well, right? As opposed to just going, yeah, I sort of hit some balls okay. And hey, if you want to just go and whack balls towards a sign and say, I feel better, help yourself. But it's probably not the most efficient way that you can go about, having a practice routine.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I don't have one. And I don't, although I will say this, when I am going to work on my short game, there is a specific pattern to what I'm doing if I'm going to work on it. Sometimes it's just, my youngest son Brandon and I'll go over to the golf course and we'll play a little putting game.
Sure.
Well, that's a practice routine.
Yep.
We have a set thing. Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Little match play. We're going to go across here. We always have the same pattern to how we do the putting, and
sure.
So
but you're practicing pressure. You're practicing more of a real life situation or whatever, and there's actually an outcome that comes out.
Exactly.
Of that, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, it is. Those are all some very very valid things to. So let me just recap it before we wrap it up here. You're practicing. So when you're talking about improving your game, change something, it doesn't necessarily have to be your swing.
Right.
We can be talking about technique. We can be talking about a skill that you want to refine. We can talk about course strategy, on-course strategy, off-course strategy. We can talk about nutrition. We can talk about mental skills and emotional management on the golf course. We can talk about your physical ability and what you can do off the golf course to improve the physical ability, or on the golf course to recognize what your physical ability actually is. And we talk about, finally, about practice routines and what you can do to set a routine in motion to actually get the most out of your session at the range or your session on the putting green. All really good points. Great topic.
It's a deep one.
It is.
That's the thing.
That was pretty deep, even for me.
But people should realize, there is a lot of different ways that you can get better or improve your golf experience, because it might not necessarily, equate to always, good scores, but it might change how you feel about your game.
Exactly.
Which again makes it a little bit better. But there's no better time to tackle that than right now.
Yeah. Get after it.
Yeah.
And you heard it on the Flagstick podcast.
You got it.
Which is always cool. Okay. Well, we're going to wrap it up. We got to gather some stuff together, get ready for the big golf expo.
We do.
As most of you are listening to this podcast on Friday, those that are lucky enough to listen to it Thursday night, well, golf expo's tomorrow at noon. Show opens at noon. We'll be there. Or the show is already open when you're listening to this. It's Friday. So we'll be there. We got some stuff to give away. We got some ballots for you to fill out, and there's going to be lots going on at the Golf Expo. Scotty Mac's going to be on the stage, helping out Derek McDonald with some instruction, and doing a little interview with our good friend Curtis Barkley. So be sure to get to the Golf Expo this weekend. Check it out. Check us out. Enjoy yourself. Find a deal. Try some stuff out. Hang out with your buddies. Whatever.
Come ask us questions and have a chat.
Exactly. So that's a wrap for us for this week on the Flagstick Podcast. Thanks to our sponsors, Metcalf Golf Club, Celtic Golf Center, and our presenting sponsor this week, Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island is a premier Canadian golf destination, boasting the most number of golf courses per capita in the country, with over 400 fairways, closer than you think, top-tier accommodations, and exquisite culinary experience. It is the easiest golf vacation you will ever book. Visit golfpei.ca to book those tee times and vacations. Glad you're listening. Glad you're watching. Hope you're enjoying. Please follow us across all social media networks, Instagram, X, Facebook. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Do not forget to hit the YouTube channel up. Like us, click the notification bell, and make sure that you never miss a single episode. Get yourself over to flagstick.com. Check out the indoor golf directory. Check out the course calendar coming very soon. Check out our newsletter registration. Sign up for the Flagstick Digest newsletter and get all this great information and whatnot sent to your inbox 3 times a week. That's 3, not 2, not 1, but 3 times a week. And you're going to enjoy that amazing golf content delivered every single day. As always, we do appreciate you tuning in. But until next week, I'm Jeff Botter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
And remember, go for the stick.